Some idiot on the internet knows how to manage the worst fire in LA, sitting there in his underwear. You know what? Looking at the footage on the internet, I have determined that this here was mismanaged.
Like, imagine you're a firefighter and you're working 12, 16, 18-hour days fighting these fires. One of the most high pressure, high stress situations you can put a human being through. And imagine they get a break and then they go on social media and what they're reading is like, DEI programs. The fires would have been under control if it wasn't for the DEI programs. Speaking of the fires.
I heard you had to evacuate your home.
Yes, like most people I had to. I got lucky, you know, the winds moved, but, you know, the fire was coming and all that stuff. So I feel lucky.
Are you guys back in?
And I think everybody did a great job.
Yeah.
Unlike the internet, you know?
Yeah, right. I know. It's right.
Oh, my God. All of these fire experts. Why didn't you just fly a helicopter into the ocean? And then just, I don't know, because there was 100-knot winds? You want to do that? You want to do that at night, you lunatic?
How are you?
This was definitely mismanaged.
That's a big word.
5 minutes into the fire, 5 minutes into the fire, before a single firefighter's foot is even on the ground fighting the fires, you had no shortage of prominent MAGA voices rushing as fast as they could to turn this into some sort of political failure. It was so frustrating because if you lived in Los Angeles when these fires started, you would know that the wind, what day was it? Was it last Tuesday? Was insane. The wind nearly broke our windows out. I told you guys a story. I had to use something to prop against one. So like you have a sliding glass window or whatever. I had to use this commemorative oar that I got from doing a Call of Duty like veterans charity 10 years ago. I had to use this oar to prop against one side of the one of the window panes to prevent it from blowing out. Because unattended, just leaving it alone, the wind alone was pushing my window out, which made the wind worse and everything. Like, it was so insane. The winds on that day were so insane. And when you combine that with a dry climate, a drought, California had another drought this year, in warm temperatures, it's like kerosene for a fire. And people were trying to make it about the water not being in the reservoirs. That was bullshit. About California didn't do a good enough job raking our forest. Bullshit. It was insane.
Now.
Mismanaged, some idiot on the internet knows how to manage the worst fire in LA, sitting there in his underwear. You know what? Looking at the footage on the internet, I have determined that this here was mismanaged.
There were millions of people that were doing this within seconds of these fires breaking out. California, listen, we got to rebuild, billions of dollars worth of damage. The fires are still going. We have a lot of challenges that are pressing us at this moment. A lot of things that we got to overcome. Thankfully, we have the benefit of a new influx of millions of new forest management and water storage experts that will be here to guide us every step of the way, which is just phenomenal timing. The fact that we've seen millions of people all of a sudden take an interest and become experts in forest management and water storage, and it just so happened to parallel with the challenges that we're facing right now, is crazy good timing for us. It's just insane. Honestly, it's insanely good luck, because now we have the benefit of millions of we got Zuma's tweeting out Gavin Newsom the first night of the fires. And Zuma's tweeting out Gavin Newsom. It's been nice because for the last 4 years, as a state that gets hit by wildfires, a lot. It's just a reality of living in California. Is there's a threat of wildfires everywhere. It was nice for the last 4 years knowing that we had somebody in charge of the executive branch of this country's government, federal government. It was nice to know that we had somebody who was going to release federal aid unconditionally within minutes or hours. You know, for the last 4 years, I've never at any point doubted that Joe Biden and his administration was not only going to have my back if I needed him, if I had lost my apartment or whatever. I had no doubt that his administration was going to marshal the full weight of the federal government to lend support where it was needed. I had no doubt that he was going to do it in any other state. I had no doubt that he was never going to play politics with federal aid. He was just going to give that shit immediately. And then Donald Trump won in November. And now it's like, there's no guarantee, like if a fire comes next month, if something similar happens, some insane winds and this kind of thing, and I'm forced to evacuate, or I lose my apartment, we lose our apartment, then I have no, like, I have no assurances that Donald Trump is gonna be there for my state if we need him. Contrarily, I have no doubt that he will be there lickety split if it's Texas or if it's Alabama or if it's South Carolina or if it's Florida. I have no doubt he's going to give them all the aid that they need, all the support they need. He's going to show up. He's going to do the photo ops. He's going to do everything in his power to make sure that, you know, red states get what they need. And he's going to do the same shit to California that he did during his first term, which is just play politics. There was a series of fires that happened in California on his watch. I can't remember what year, 2018, 19, pick your poison, whatever. And he held up aid for weeks. Donald Trump held up federal aid to the state of California when thousands of people needed support and help. He held it up for 3 weeks. And like, to me, this is one of the most disgusting things that you could possibly do. I mean, we're talking about real world consequences. We're talking about true human suffering. We're talking about people that need support, people that through no fault of their own were forced out of their homes. The whole world upended. I mean, think of like logistically everything that's going to go into, like, you have to leave your home at a moment's notice, and then you lose your home. You have 3 kids, they go to school, they require medication, you got to get them food. You also have a career, you have your own job to work for, and then you got to also worry about skyrocketing rents in these areas when disasters like this happen, because the market just gets so. And then on top of that, you have to contend with the fact that you can't really count on the president to send federal aid when they need it. It's I hesitate to use the word evil too often, but to me it's pure evil to identify people like in this. Nobody tell Donald Trump that 1/3 of California is conservative. And honestly, it wouldn't shock me if we elected a Republican governor in the next 8 years. Like, there are so many Trump supporters that live in California that I guess them, right? Like, I guess they don't matter. Yeah, it's crazy to me. And then, of course, inevitably now, every single time, this is the most infuriating part of this whole like disaster discourse. Because now, as soon as like Twitter is the worst place to be now whenever there's some natural disaster, because it's always some plot, always some conspiracy. You can never just have like a natural disaster. It's like Jewish space lasers, or, you know, the Chinese government manipulating the weather, or the American government manipulating the weather so that, you know, real estate investors can swoop in and take these properties for pennies on the dollar and then flip them for a profit. And then people bring up the $750 thing. Have you guys noticed this? Now, anytime there's a disaster and FEMA authorizes aid to be sent out to people in the form of like, there's an initial disbursement of funds in the first 3 days, and it's $750, and it's a stipend to cover the basic necessities like right away. It's like, this is going to help. Like, the money is meant to help people get shelter, get food, get medicine, whatever they need in the first few days. And then after that, people are eligible for thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in different aid programs. There's like over a dozen aid programs that you can apply for and be qualified for when stuff like this happens. It's not just $750, number one. Number two, who sets that amount? The $750, somebody in chat tell me, you guys tell me. Somebody decided on $750 for the initial FEMA thing. Who was that? The Congress. The Congress determines the amount of aid, and yet every time there's for like the last like 5 disasters, I've seen it happen on Twitter now, where these MAGA idiots, these mouth-breathing ignorant morons are going on Twitter and they're being like, oh yeah, Joe Biden only sent people $750. Him. He is obligated. That is the amount. He can't, even if he wanted to send double that amount, he can't do that without Congress. And then when people pressed Congress, this was in November or October, there was when was the massive hurricane in North Carolina and South Carolina and that whole stretch? Was that like last, or I think it was in November. Pretty sure it was after the election. There was pressure on the leaders of Congress to convene an emergency session of Congress to send more aid to people. And Mike Johnson said, no, actually, no, it was before the election. He said he was going to do it after the election. Yeah, I got the timeline wrong. But they were on break. Congress was on break. And there's video of, a news person, a journalist or whatever, asking him, like, are you going to convene Congress to send more funds out? And he said, no, we're not going to do that. So the Republican leader of the House declined to convene a special session of Congress to send more aid out. This was like, yeah. But now it's like every single time it's like, oh, you're going to send people $750 after they lost their homes, or you're going to send billions of dollars to Ukraine. Joe Biden. Every time that's what the conversation turns into. And the president has nothing to do with, like, the president, they don't have discretion there. It's not like the president's like, you know what? I think, yeah, 750. That seems like it'll be a good number this time. That's it. That's all he can send. All right, whatever. Anyways.
You know about helicopters because I remember, and it's interesting now thinking about it, because you said that.
About it. I know about the one that I fly. Other than that, I don't know anything about it.
You know
but
something.
If you're on the internet, you know everything.
I hope you know about it, because you said that you got your pilot's license in case like all hell broke loose in L.A., you could get out of L.A. And at any moment, did you think, I'm going to make a run for that helicopter?
Well, the error in my thought was I didn't realize how expensive helicopters were. So all I have is a two-seater, and I didn't want to have to make Sophie's choice with my family. So
this motherfucker is genuinely like the funniest guy on the planet. Like, I swear to God, no comedian makes me laugh like he does. He is just the king of just off the cuff rants. He's so good at it.
You know, we all piled into the SUV like everybody else, but no, man, these guys were out there clearing the trees, getting the wires back up and everything. You know, I mean, it was like the perfect awful thing that could have happened. And it,
like, imagine you're a firefighter and you're working 12, 16, 18-hour days fighting these fires. There were between 7,500 and 10,000 firefighters in Los Angeles fighting fires at the same time. And imagine you're one of these guys and you're risking your life, literally risking your life, putting in these insanely long hours under one of the most stressful conditions you could possibly imagine. Like, what you do could determine the outcome that could impact millions of people. We're talking Los Angeles County. I think there's 11 million people. How many people in? It's about 10 million people, 9.6 million people in Los Angeles County. And the winds were so strong that these fires were spreading at just insanely fast rates at a moment's notice. And so what you're doing has very real stakes. One of the most high pressure, high stress situations you can put a human being through. And these people were out there doing that for, hours and hours and hours and hours and hours every day for the last week and a half. And imagine they get a break and then they go on social media and they see what people are saying. And what they're reading is like, oh, they're not doing anything. They're not containing these fires. The Los Angeles Fire Department is too concerned about hiring black lesbians, that they were unprepared. It's just rank incompetence. They're not doing their jobs. Blah, 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 blah. And like 20 years ago, the response would have been like, oh my God, look at this bravery. Look at this heroism. This is the best of humanity. People are coming together to do donation drives. People are doing food drives and water drives, and they're offering people shelter. And like Mexico's sending people to help with the fires. And like, oh my God, what an incredible feat. What an incredible display of human compassion and generosity and caring. And now it's like, there's too many black lesbians.
And I love how all the
I can't rant like he does, but like that's what I was seeing. It was just like, oh, DEI programs. The fires would have been under control if it wasn't for the DEI programs. Like, right-wingers in this country do everything they can to constantly shit on, first responders, law enforcement, fire departments. Every single time there's some kind of a natural disaster in a blue state. Every single time. Republicans, right-wingers, MAGA folks, they find a way to cheapen or totally disregard the personal sacrifice that thousands of Americans make, doing stuff like fighting these fires. It's so gross.
The chatter out there is about bands of illegal immigrants and homeless people lighting fires. They light fires every day. They're living outside. They're cold. And this theory that some homeless guy without a car went from Altadena all the way to the Pacific Palisades, and then we have a hang glider. And they're talking about looting, but CNN and Fox News are not going to bring up the insurance companies that are just going to keep everybody's premiums and still give themselves a bonus.
Speaking of the fires in CA, you really should check this out. This is one of the coolest uses of state funds, and they are using it to fight the Palisades fire right now.
What are we looking at?
Welcome aboard one of the most high-tech
and my waypoint just puts me right there, Ontario Freeway.
Firefighting tools
Again, with two major fires raging right now
in the world, based here in California.
Coming across the head now, the downwind portion of the fire.
This is Intel 12, part of the FIRUS program. FIRUS, which stands for Fire Integrated Real-Time Intelligence System. That's the official acronym for this state-of-the-art infrared and high-definition aerial camera system.
I'm going to switch to IR. There's still quite a lot of heat.
Yes, 100%. It's a game changer.
Here's the way it works. An incident is spotted and reported. For this example, we'll use a small possible wildfire in San Bernardino County. Intel 12, a King Air, takes off from Chino with a crew of 3. Within minutes, Intel 12's FLIR sensor high-definition infrared cameras are sending video back to the FIRUS Fusion Center, which is based at the Los Angeles City Fire Department.
Yeah, this is cool.
That video is analyzed and forwarded to the University of California San Diego's supercomputer, where within seconds a model is generated and then sent back to the Fusion Center, showing the potential for fire growth over the next several hours.
It is cool. We're making all these technological leaps that empower these agencies to respond to these, catastrophic events in like really good time. All that's really cool. I'll tell you what I don't like. I'll tell you what I don't like. I don't like getting false alarm evac emergency notifications on my phone at 3:30 a.m. and then again at 4:30 a.m. 3 times in the span of 24 hours, they sent me false alarm emergency notifications. So I'm in bed and I wake up and I'm confused because I'm in a deep sleep, right? It's 3:30 a.m. So I'm in that deep REM sleep. I'm dreaming, I'm on Mars, farming shit and having sex with aliens or whatever. And then in my dream I hear a and I'm waking up and I'm angry. I'm confused. I'm like, what's happening? I look at my phone. It's like, you got to get out. You got to get out now. Get your cats. Get out now. You're all going to die. And it's like 3:30. It's 3:30 a.m. Right. And I'm like, what are we doing? What do we do? And then you double check because it's like, well, I don't know. Like, do I really need to get out? And then it's a false alarm. Turns out somebody sent it to somebody sent an alert to evac to the entire LA County, which again, this encompasses 10 million people. 10 million people got an evacuation notice. And then they send out another notice with the same disregard that, it was a mistake. And then they did it again at 4:30. They did it again. And they had done it the previous day at 2:30 p.m. or something like that. So it was 3 times. It's like, we got to do something about that. Like, it's not that I don't appreciate, the amount of work that's going into like coordinating all this stuff, because I'm sure this is a logistical nightmare for the people that are involved. Like, I don't want to judge you, like, whatever. Yeah, like, you're doing your work and that's great. But somebody needs to whoever's job it is to send those notifications out, that person's got to go. Okay. You don't need to fire them. Okay. They can be a lateral shift. Maybe they can be like I don't know what you can do with them. They can do some admin work or whatever. But bro.
This potential growth model is then sent across the state, and based on the projections, the necessary resources, firefighters, and equipment are dispatched to stop the spread.
The vision came from Chief Fennessy from Orange County Fire Authority. The need has always been real-time intelligence.
It's got to be fast, it's got to be simple. Even on a smartphone in the heat of battle, me having to enter a user ID and a password, I'm not going to do it. I don't have the time. I need to be able to touch it, and it needs to be there.
We're estimating the area of origin to be just off.
It's been an interesting project. Started with proof of concept and has evolved into really a program that, I believe, and many other fire chiefs, and I would even offer up the director of Cal OS sees as a we got to have program. It has to be here when we most need it.
It's been a phenomenal partnership with the Orange County Fire Authority, with our
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely cool technology.